Our speaker today is Gregg Philipson, you've already met from Austin, Texas. He's a longtime member of the Capital of Texas Postcard Club and Wichita Postcard Club. And we thank Debbie and Ken Wilson in Austin for introducing us to Gregg several years ago. We thank him for coming here today and telling us about the postcard artist Reg Manning. If you're not already familiar with his name, within a few minutes of seeing his postcards, you will immediately remember his style. It's very distinctive. There's a lot to learn about, so I want to welcome Gregg and his talk today, Reg Manning, the Cactus Cartoonist, and more, lots more. Thank you, Gregg, for being here.
All right. So anyway, today we're going to talk about Reg Manning from, well, we'll get into his bio in just a second here. I put AKA you know who, because in these cartoons that you'll see, many of them throughout the war and after, he identifies himself as you know who. And you see in that little poster stamp in the bottom right there, it says below his collar, you know who. And that's his famous signature. He always signed it with a cactus at the end of his name. And this is one of a really cute, we'll see that postcard later as well, but one of his very comical cactus or cacti related postcards. So let's get right into this. So let's talk a little bit about Reg Manning. And there is one infectious smile on an individual that if you ever wanted to see one. He was actually born in Kansas City, Missouri, but he did go to Phoenix Union High School. And in 1926, he joined the Phoenix Republic newspaper as a staff cartoonist, and in 34. And in the 60s, held the position of editorial cartoonist for the Phoenix Republic and Gazette Syndicate. And they were both, Phoenix City newspapers. Very long and very varied career, as you'll see. In 1938, he wrote and illustrated the Cartoon Guide for Arizona, one of many of the books he did. And in 41, What Kind of Cactus Is It? Other publications are Little Itchy Itchy. It's a World War II anti-Japanese book, propaganda book from the war. And then From Tea to Cup, we're going to show a couple of those that I have in the collection in 1954. And What is Arizona Really Like? These are all really interesting, wonderful books. But he published, later in life, he decided to do etchings on glass of cacti etchings and of Arizona wildlife on glass. It's really incredible stuff, and you'll see some of that in the presentation. He's obviously a very highly respected cartoonist. In 1951, during the Korean War, of which my father-in-law, the late Joseph Warwick, served as a combat veteran, Manning did a cartoon, and we're going to look at that, but that's an original wire photo from the collection of him with a copy of the Pulitzer Prize winning cartoon. So in 1951, during the Korean conflict, this says Reg Manning of the Arizona Republic in Phoenix today was announced as a winner of the Pulitzer Prize for editorial cartoons. He holds his winning cartoon entitled Hats. The upper panel labeled Lake Success shows the silk hats of diplomacy. The lower panel labeled Korea shows the bullet-pierced helmet of a soldier killed in action. And this is a kind of a reproduction of the original, but it's signed by him in 1974 to a Mary Manuel. Beautiful little extra piece in the collection, but it's a really poignant, very poignant cartoon about the diplomacy versus what was going on in Korea at the time. So this panel here is rather interesting. This is a very large panel that was used for a Reg Manning exhibit that we did at the War of the Pacific Museum in Fredericksburg, Texas. He was one of numerous cartoonists. We had Dr. Seuss, Disney, Arthur Schick, Manning, Brieger, Caniff, a whole bunch of them. And this is the actual panel that they put up with the Reg Manning artifacts that we had there. And a couple of the things I just wanted to point out was that's Little Itchy Itchy, the guy on the bottom left, the bottom right rather, holding the Harry Carey sword. But in here is a couple of things I wanted to make specific mention to. It says during his career, Manning published over 15,000 cartoons in 179 newspapers and wrote a number of books. We talked about some of those. But like many of these guys during the war, they did a lot of work for the Treasury Department promoting savings bonds and war savings stamps. And as you can see here, he passed away in 1986 after a really incredible career. So this is a very interesting little piece, and it's a printer's block. It says Manning is said to have inserted the caricature of himself, naming himself you know who, only when he believed most strongly about a subject, about a particular subject he was drawing. This is a scarce printer's block. It's the only one I've ever seen with the you know who image, and we'll see a number of these things. But I think it's really kind of neat how he imposed himself into his work. So here we go with a couple of cartoons. One's from Fort Smith, Arkansas, and as we just said, he was in 179 syndicated newspapers, so they're from all over the place. Now I have binders filled of these cutouts, and I do have some original newspapers, full complete newspapers, but you can see on both of these, it's you know who. So this is about the Constitution, the other one about funding the armed forces and things like that. So very, very important to him, different years, and he did it for a long, long time. These are something you're probably not going to see often, if you'll ever see one of these other than in our collection. These are sterling silver billfold money clips, and they were done by this Ed Harris guy in silver, but the character is you know who. So that's Reg Manning himself in a barrel, and that little barrel, it's patent pending, actually spins inside the money clip. I have a couple of those. Those are two different ones you're looking at. And he did a third one, which I only have seen this one once. I don't know what that represents. I've not been able to figure that out. But again, it's done by Reg Manning, and a very unusual work on silver. So something most people don't even know he dabbled in. Another interesting item we have in our, and by the way, almost everything you'll see in the presentation is from our collection. This is the Phoenician yearbook, and it's showing the 1924 Phoenician staff. And you'll see that a couple of things. Look in the 1927, it says Barry Goldwater. So he was from the class of 27. And I mention that because we're going to show you something else that pertains to him. Now, also under editorial, he's already doing editorial cartoons as a young man, and you'll see his name there, Reginald Manning, under art. And I just took one little image. These are really kind of crude, cartoons, if you will. It didn't change. It changed dramatically as he grew older, but you see the RM in there, and that's one of the bottom panels. And of course, what's in there but a saguaro cactus. So it'll keep with the theme of being a cactus cartoonist. So the reason I mentioned Goldwater, this is an original magazine from December of 1941. So the timing on this is very interesting because, as you know, December 7th of 41, the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor. And he was already producing, and we're going to talk a lot about the maps, a map called a argue map. And in this magazine, this is the advertisement for sold exclusively at Goldwater's. I don't have that sack if it ever came in that, but I do have several different colors of the Argue map. And what it was, if you took a map, and let me see, I think the next slide has it. It's a little bit, it's too big for the slide, but if you took a banana and peeled it like in four pieces back, that's what you're looking at. And he has the different things with Stalin and Turkey, and you can see China and Japan, the conflict that was already underway there with the Japanese invading, China much earlier than the 1940s. And you see Hitler with Great Britain and so on, and Uncle Sam with Latin America with what was going on. So these were incredible things. And you would take this over like a card table, as Hal calls it, and put this on, and people would talk about current events and, argue over politics, as we all seem to be doing quite well today. So anyway, it came in different colors, and I have several different iterations of this, but this is um, the four napkins that came with the Argue map. And I just want you to pay attention to top left, the parachutist into the cactus, and the airplanes on the bottom right, because those are going to be um, those will come up a little bit later as well. And I'm not sure, but if you look at the borders, and it looks like, especially on the one on the top right, because it is separated pretty good. If anybody's familiar with Morse code, you see the dot, dot, dash. That's the Morse code symbol for the letter V for victory. And I don't know whether he did that intentionally or not, but it's an interesting piece, and it looks like it might be. So here's another map he did, and this one is Reg Manning's tabletop map of Arizona. And this one's a killer. I just have this one, but notice the cacti everywhere. And so I'd have to say that if you took away Arizona, wildlife, cacti, and maps, Reg Manning probably would have had a horrific life because he did such a great job with this stuff. And this is what it looks like a little bit up close. It says 1943, so I think he's during the war. He's actually still promoting these kinds of things for Arizona and just having a good time with it. This is, I can't remember if this is a map or if this is a tablecloth or a piece of fabric I have, but look at this Arizona wildlife. It is just everything from the quail, the turtle, the jackrabbits, the owls, the cat, the woodpeckers, and so on. It is really just a lovely piece. And this is a different one, and again, just all the Arizona cacti and so on from the desert. And here is a magazine, and I meant to look up the date of this after Hal and I and Alan were talking earlier this week, but I didn't. This is an old magazine, I think maybe from the 1940s, but that's Reg Manning sitting there in the insert on the right-hand side. But notice that drawing. So that's the Grand Canyon, and you see the burros and people on them going through the canyon, on those little narrow gauge trailways, if you will, there. And this is a tablecloth I was able to find. It's a cartoon fabric. It says in Canyon Trail, 1938, Reg Manning. It's kind of cool when you look at it. Look at in the center on the bottom there, the burro bucking the guy off with his hat flying. It's kind of cute. I always found a lot of humor in everything he did. And this piece here, as far as Reg Manning is concerned, look what it says, drafted by R. Manning. And this, I believe, is from the 19th, or I can't remember if it's dated on there, but I think it's from the 1920s, maybe early 30s. But that's from the Automobile Club of Arizona. And I imagine finding that map, which is in the collection, is really, really difficult. I started searching around for other things like this, and nothing was to be had. So I was really lucky to be able to acquire this one. This is more of the work for hire sort of thing. It's drafted by him, not not some kind of cartoon deal. And this cartoon map of Arizona is not on fabric. This is on paper, and it's actually a insert, full size map insert in the back of one of the books that he published. So that's kind of fun too. You saw that one a little bit earlier. And here it is, copyright 38 by Reg Manning. Has a lot of very positive things. A lot of times Native Americans were not looked on with great favor, but he always made good, fun, positive images of our Native American friends and so on. And this is Arizona Highways, another very early one from 1938. And you can see they have a whole article about Manning, and you can see his cartoon there again, everybody with the burros on these little narrow trails going through the Grand Canyon. And Arizona Highways, he's had the covers, just so many different things. Now, this is the Cartoon Guide of Arizona, one of his famous books. And this one is in the collection, and it's such a beautiful piece. So it's got a really nice, like a book plate sort of thing, printed in there. But look at what he did. In 1938, he signed and dated that, and howdy to Jack Lewis. And he put, I carry my radio on my burro, and Fibber McGee and Molly, and it's just unbelievable. An original Reg Manning cartoon signed by him in the front page of the book. So that's a real valuable piece. This is a thing about what is Arizona really like. That's the cover of the book, and an article you can see at the bottom there, all the different birds and cacti and what have you. So another great article. And on the right side, you'll see more of his political cartoons that he was so famous for. Now, many of you would never believe that a political cartoonist would be designing the insignia for the Arizona Highway Patrol. Now, that beautiful hat is not in the collection, but I do have, not that exact one, but I do have one of the badges in the collection along with some other things. And of course, you can see the probably from more northern Arizona, the pine trees, and of course, the saguaro cactus representing a big part of Arizona. And these are things from my collection. There's a cap with the insignia, with the patch. The one on the right is a bottle opener, and that thing's brand spanking new. So somebody's still reproducing that image. And the other one at the bottom there is a vintage Arizona Highway Patrol Reg Manning design. I think it was in the 1940s he designed that for them, an original belt buckle. Now, before we get into the postcards, this is another really important item when you talk about World War II propagandists and so on. So this is from the Hotel Utah. And it says this little booklet is especially drawn especially for the guests of the Hotel Utah by Reg Manning. And of course, he's now taking this very serious because what do you see? You Know Who is right next to it. And the sign says, we used to pride ourselves on our service at the Hotel Utah, but now we pride ourselves on our service men and girls. For instance, and look at how he writes, for instance, many of the folks who used to carry your luggage are now carrying a load for for the man with the tall hat and striped pants. So there you go. The guys and young men and women that are out there on the front lines, this is what they were doing on the home front. And this is really great because now we're actually getting into, in these kinds of things, the real anti-Nazi, anti-Japanese, anti-access in total kind of editorial cartooning. And some of the boys who used to give such snappy valet service are now pressing Adolf's panzers, so instead of his pants, right? And you can see the Tojo guy on the right there. And, that's, you're going to see a lot of that stuff. And here's one. I don't know whether this was a brochure. it's actually mounted on board, and it's pretty large. So it's kind of like a mini poster, if you will. It's from the Travelers Insurance Company, and these guys did all this work. This is work for hire. This is how they made a living. And you can see that this is something about, preventing accidents and so on, how critical production was and so on in the workplace during World War II. So here we go, Little Itchy Itchy and other cartoons by Reg Manning. And it's really interesting. So he's got a Harry Carey sword, and that's Little Itchy Itchy. And you'll see why it says now. You'll see why it says now in a little bit. And there's Reg Manning with his, iconic cactus signature at the bottom. So some of the things, instead of showing you images from the book, he did these little seals, and these are World War II era seals, and it's series number 1. Note a couple of fun things on here. The word seals at the top are spelled out with seals that look like letters. So I thought that was kind of cute. But in here are several of his anti-Japanese and anti-Hitler cartoons. So look at the top left. It says, here's that letter from Arizona. So when you were writing somebody in the service, you would stick that on the envelope for fun, right? But what he's doing is we've sunk a Japanese ship. There's the admiral, and Little Itchy Itchy is following him for him to commit suicide, Harry Carey suicide, going, now, now. That's what he would always do. And you can see the one there's the one that we showed on the title screen, Zip Your Lip. The access is listening. And you see a Japanese caricature and Hitler with the big ear listening. And again, he's real serious about that one because what do you see on his shirt? You know who. And there's a couple of others with Hitler being swatted by a cactus, and there's Little Itchy Itchy, and different. Some are fun, and I guess they all have humor, but some are more serious than others. Obviously, the anti-Nazi and anti-Japanese ones. So here you go. So this is how these cards were used. Here's one postmarked during World War II, and it's from Arizona, Williams Field. So this is most likely a U.S. Army Air Corps training field in Arizona. And so this particular soldier sends this card off to Long Island, New York. But look at this. It's a vulture coming down on, that's supposed to be Emperor Hirohito, Hitler, and Mussolini. And who's there with the Harry Carey sword but Little Itchy Itchy? And you can read the stuff, but it's really cute. There'll be vultures over Tokyo and buzzards or Berlin. P.S. To access Stooge the Third, that's Benito. Him will give the bird. And that's copyrighted 1942, shortly after the U.S. entered the war in December of 1941. And here's another one. O Son of Heaven, snap the sacred kimono. America planes coming, run for shelter. And again, he calls them Moto Meeson. He just make up names, but there's Little Itchy Itchy chasing him. Beautiful card sent from Las Vegas in 1943. Another soldier sending that to Missouri. And here's is it? No, this is the same design card. Again, in 1943, this one went to Illinois. So it's really nice. If you watch that little thing that Hal and Ellen put out, I love the postcards, not just for the postcard's sake, but some of the things that you see, where they're posted from, what year they're posted. And in some cases, it's really amazing, some of the messages that were written, not only in this one, but in many different instances. This is really a meaningful card. This is 1943. He called them travel cards. Many of his things were called travel cards. And it says, you notice the American flag background, and it says, when setting sun sinks out of sight, red stripes remain and stars shine bright. So there's a caricature of a Japanese person, the rising sun, which is their flag, is setting rather quickly there with the entry of United States into the war. So here's another one that we saw earlier. But what's interesting, collecting, and I'm sure everybody collects cards, you're always looking for something unique and a little different. And this card must have been something to do with the printers because this violet stamp that's on here says color correction. Do not follow this card's colors. I can't make out the whole thing, but I thought it was interesting just because we're all collectors here to see something like that on one of his cards. So it's blank on the back. It's normal postcard stuff on the back, but it must have been some color proof, if you will. I just thought it was interesting to show. I know Hal loves this card. This is 1943. It says, "Help, please. Very, very hot at 10,000 feet altitude. P-38 above zero." And a P-38 is that American aircraft, as you see, coming down onto a Jap Zero. So that's a pun on different aircraft. And look who's in the back seat of the plane. Little Itchy Itchy. And this one is especially neat for my collection because it's mailed. This is one of the I'd probably say least seen cards that I've seen floating around. I have a couple of them, but you can see that's from Camp Han, California, postmark there in 1943 to Pennsylvania. It's a great card. It's a great cartoon. Real heavy duty political stuff in it. And this one is kind of this is like a gut wrenching or a very you call this card a heartbreaker. Travel card number 21 in 1942, copyright. This is a wife of a serviceman serving on the other side of the globe, and it says, "At 9 every night, dear, whenever we're apart, I gaze the North Star with love in my heart. For I know that you're gazing at the same star too, and are thinking of me while I'm thinking of you." And it says to you, like it's sending it to you, but a constellation to the left of the North Star. It's a beautiful card, and I'm sure it was very meaningful when people received that one. So they also did Reg Manning's Pack of Fun from the Southwest accordion style postcard booklets. And this one is nice. And for those of you from Tucson, you can see it's a postmark March 8th of 1944, well into the war. And it's a cartoon about soldiers, engines, and all kinds of stuff. And this beautiful one, it's nicely franked with three 1-cent stamps, um, for freedom stamps, if you will, to Chicago. And this is another one that I have, and this one's a little bit more interesting, the other one, when you talk about postmarks. So when I bought this one, I already had the Pack of Fun. I mean, that was great. But if anybody understands this, this is from Coolidge, Arizona, and the internment camp there. And this was one of the places that after Pearl Harbor, Japanese Americans were rounded up and sent to internment camps throughout California, Arizona, Utah, a couple of other states, but those three states I think had the bulk of them. And to see this mailed from one of those, that is an extremely rare postmark. And it's just a beautiful part of this collection, not only postcards, World War II, Japanese internment, and so on. And I mentioned in the little talk that I gave regarding the postcard of the week about another one. You'll see another postcard with an interesting postmark on it as well. But you have to understand in this instance that you'll see a lot of anti-Japanese stuff here. And it's very important to remember what the Japanese were doing. Not only did they sneak up and kill over about 1,200 American soldiers and sailors, mainly sailors at Pearl Harbor, but throughout Asia, what the Japanese were doing with biological, chemical warfare experiments, the degradation of women, the murder in the Philippines, Korea, what was Formosa, now Taiwan, and all throughout Asia. I spoke at the about the Holocaust at the Japanese Unit 731 Criminal Evidence Museum in Harbin, China, in Manchuria, where the Japanese did all these experiments and so on. And when you see what the Japanese did, it was not surprising to see the vicious anti-Japanese propaganda in this country. So it's kind of a double-edged sword. You don't want to see Americans rounded up, certainly, and yet the sentiment against the Japanese was so strong, and especially as the war went on, as these atrocities were uncovered more and more. So this postcard is really cool. It kind of shows it's a handy blackout chart. So notice that it's a private, a non-commissioned officer, and then the officers all the way up to general. The more you could be blacked out because the fatter they got, the higher the rank. And it's a cool card. And I know I liked it too, but Hal collects blackout stuff, so that was kind of fun. But it's a postmark in Santa Monica, California, 1942. Just another nice card with a free franking. Free franking, if you're not familiar with that, active service members even today do not require postage on their mail. So as long as you return address it properly. These are some of the poster stamps. I blew them up from you from the first set of poster stamps that he did. Help, Americans coming. Harry Carey now, General. And you can just see these. Again, these had gum on the back, much like a Christmas seal or all the different, type of introductory stamps that you would find. Certainly not postage. And here's a couple of other cartoons from 1941. And we're not yet in the war when these things were done. And it's interesting. Notice that he has Hitler, much like Napoleon, as you can see, the War of 18 in the battle in 1812, not our War of 1812, but the canon says Napoleon. So he sees him like Napoleon, getting deeper and deeper in Russia, and eventually, his demise there. There aren't enough for two. So this is Stalin and Hitler, two ruthless dictators, both going after the Balkans and the Baltic states, of which they obviously did and ended up in the Cold War afterwards. Don't look now, but I think you've picked up the wrong backpack there. So little cute Native American humor. Stamp has a little damage on it, but it's really nice. Postmarked in Phoenix in 42, sent to Phoenix to Luke Field. So that was from a civilian to probably somebody in the Army Air Corps. And I like the box cancel on there too. It says buy defense savings bonds. So it's good. It's all around good World War II material. Now this one is Pomona, and Pomona was another site, and that's the one I mentioned in the little postcard of the week talk. Pomona also had was an area in Pomona. I forget, it was their big field there where they didn't have the internment camp there, but that's where the holding field was for people of Japanese descent. And again, this is free frank sent by a private Sandy. And it's a cute, cute card. So here you have these parachutists coming in for training. And what are they doing? The Cactus are all waiting to greet them. Come to Papa. And you can see all these little saguaro cactuses, just kind of what would happen if you went down. Much like, this is the one I wanted to bring back about the napkin. That showed the parachutists. It's virtually the same image, just less of the entire image on that card. And these were cute. This is a pack of fun from the Southwest. And what do you notice on the front of this card? It's really nice. It's got a 1944 Arizona postmark. But look at the image. It's another soldier with a papoose on his back, much like the postcard we saw, a little different image, but very similar. Cartoons about soldiers, engines, and so on. So another nice little, this is Mexican words you meet on maps of the Southwest. And of course, and he did many of those. So these are the kinds of things that were inside there. And it's beautiful when you can find these that were actually mailed. This is a cute one, 1944 from Newkirk, New Mexico, which is, I like that one especially for the postmark because it's not a commonly seen postmark, but it's a cute postcard. It's the GI Barbershop. You'd never know that just a year ago I was mowing lawns for a living. Look at how he left his hair on the top. So anyway, 1943 travel card, just a lot of fun. And this one is really cute. Howdy, I've been dunking of you, not thinking of you, at the Red Cross Canteen in Phoenix, Arizona. And so look at the guy with the six shooter. He's popping the holes in the donuts. He's shooting them out, and it says the Donut Deholing Department. And we in Phoenix were mighty proud to have your boys visit us. So here he did this for the Red Cross Canteen. They would have it there for soldiers, much like a USO or a Jewish Welfare Board or a YMCA. All the facilities that were around, even Pepsi-Cola had facilities like this where soldiers and sailors could go in, get free cards and paper and, mail things and so on. So this one is really nice because this one is at the Marine Corps base in San Diego and postmark in 1944. So you don't see many coming out of there with that postmark on it, but a great card. These are what the cards look like. They're almost not really postcards, but you could use them for them. They would drop down out of some of these packs, and you saw the top one already, but there's two more. Howdy from the land of the giant cactus, making the name Arizona, and desert powder rooms. One for them, going behind a bush on the highway. So kind of cute. We'll see some more of that stuff. So these are interesting cards, and these are also from this. It says, "Gosh, I don't know. I've never been up before. I thought you was the instructor." So as you see this plane nosediving, how am I doing for my first time up? So a little snafu there, if you're familiar with that term. And 1943 by Reg Manning, again during the war at these airfields where, we were trying to train as many pilots as we could. Um, Sadly, the demand was very, very heavy. And the one on the left is kind of a cute card. It's showing soldiers, sailors, and Marines, um, and and obviously pilots. So the Army Air Corps, we didn't have an Air Force yet. It was all part of the Army. It says a jolly jumble in card, and you would put to or from, and you would pick what you wanted to say by just circling or scratching out the stuff. Kind of fun stuff, and anything to make our troops entertained, either for them to send it or to receive it, was very, very important. So here's another one of the ones with the P38 above zero. That's cute, and these are actually, I can't remember if these were connected or not, but I like the other one where it gets a bump and goes up in the air, and there he is right near the airplane. So remarkable, these Jeeps, the stamina they had, a Willys Jeep. You may be familiar with those. And again, 1943, and you see how high the Jeep is up at the little town down there and above the birds. And here's the other one, but this one, you saw the card, but this one was actually mailed. And this one's from California in 1943, also from Camp Han. And I guess a lot of these things you saw them because they were produced in Arizona. You would find them much more out in Arizona and California, especially at the camps in the fields that the military had all throughout the country, but especially in the Southwest. And this is cute. This one is another very interesting card. You see this bluish um, stamp, rubber stamp on it. It's from the US, it's the USO Club for Troops in Transit Lounge in Tucson, Arizona. So not only is it postmark in May, it's about 5 days before Victory in Europe Day, May 8th of 1945. And it's obviously free frank, so we know it's military mail, and it's a fun card, copyright of 42, but it's showing all the different people, cowboys and Indians, and there's a sportsman, if you will, a fisherman, by Reg Manning. But what's important to note is that these cards, much like other cards and so on, were all being used in these clubs. And the USO, which is still around today, thankfully, supporting our troops, was very, very important. And they always tried to make things very easy. And when we talk about a transit lounge, rail was the main mode of transportation. Airline really wasn't used for transporting troops. The rails were. And the railroads were moving troops constantly across the country, depending on where people were going to be inducted and then where they were being stationed or in all these training facilities. So this USO was for basically troops just passing through. They weren't at Camp Huachaca or anything like that. They were strictly on the move. And this one's really cute. And this is one of the ones where I like it. It says, how people are, maybe thinking about Indians weren't up to par with other people and so on. This is really an important card talking about the politics. So this woman sees two little Native American kids and goes, see them great big Thunderbird? And the kids are looking, going, who you kidding, lady? That's a B-17E Flying Fortress. So that makes the point. But I think the real point of this card, and Helen Allen and I talked about this earlier this week, if you're not familiar with it, that's flag flying in the entrance to their home indicates that they have a son or daughter in active service. And that's what that represents. I wish I had the one that my grandmother had from my Uncle Jerry. He was killed in action in World War II, but she had a flag like that hanging, or a poster or postcard or something in her window indicating that they had a child in service in action. So important one. This one's kind of a cute one. This is from Cathedral City, California, and it's a interesting card. It's like making fun of tourists, right? This is during the war. Oh, what a cute little shack. We can spend the night here and not have to put up that old tent. They must be surveying through here. Look at all the little red flags. So he thinks they're making a survey. Surveyors put up flags, markers, and look what's coming in. It's a bombing target, and the bombers are all coming in the top right of the card. So it's just a little more silly humor about how people need to pay attention. This one's really cute. We love dogs in our house, and it goes, the guy is a soldier in camouflage in that tree, and he goes, go on, beat it. In these days of camouflage, you can't believe in anything anymore. That's the dogs talking to each other, and they are the cutest dogs you can imagine. And the one guy's just kicking the dog away, going, come on, I'm really not a tree, because, I'll know what the dogs were looking to do there. So it's a cute card. And this one is another one, another jolly jumble, but he says, what am I saying? She was clad only in, I just wanted to, I almost did, whatever. And this is the same theme, but again, this is, even though it's done during the war in 42, it's not a military based or really a political one, more one of just desert fun. You can see obviously the cactus there and so on. Now, this is very rare. I tried to find even another copy, even without his cartoon in it, without a Manning cartoon. This is Jeeps and Peeps from the home front, prepared on the home front for members on all fronts. So us being the home front, and the Pacific and the European theaters being the other fronts. The home front gets a challenge, but this is a little Reg Manning cartoon that's in this particular newsletter. Now notice to the left and right of the title, you see Reg Manning has a Willys Jeep, and a cactus at the city on the right side. And then this little cartoon, which is incredible, that's him again. And what does he have? Two maps, a globe map and a paper map on his desk. So he ought to be right about here. So this is a parents trying to figure out where their son or daughter is while they're serving overseas. It was always something very important everybody wanted to know, but in most cases you couldn't tell people where you were. This is another signed piece, a time for another flag raising. So this is mirrors the Iwo Jima flag raising, right? The famous Rosenthal photograph, but it says right here at home, and this is the whole family needs to pitch in. So it's the winner of the Freedom Foundation Abraham Lincoln Award in 1971. Arizona Republic. It ran in June 14th of 70. So here he is. He's in Yuma in 1971, and that's his original signature on a little printed version of this. Now, I assume that based on the date and our history, that this is during the Vietnam War, is what he's illustrating that we needed, because it was so unpopular, as we all know, that everybody had to get around and rally the flag here. So, a very, very poignant, interesting political cartoon. Now, this is from July 7th of 1941. Again, very interesting timing. This is a small cartoon in the foreign news section of Time magazine. And you see it in the full page there off on the left. I blew it up so you could really make it out. We're not, Pearl Harbor is a few months away, right? About 5 months away. So here you are, I mean, literally to the day, right? And here you have all the current players, well, US not in yet, but England, Turkey, Germany, Japan, Russia, and China. Turkey on the fence. They were trying to remain neutral for a while. And the title is He's My Friend. So everybody's pointing to everybody else, that it's a complete nut job of who is aligning themselves with who and what have you. So it's, again, brilliant political cartoon in my estimation. Now, he did another one, and this one doesn't have this is Happy Seals, series number 2. And this is a full sheet I have. These aren't so easy to find. You can find individual little stamps, cut from the page. It's perforated, but the whole one. And this is just cute. I wanted to show you this because notice little dudette. So this is early stuff, right? This is 1940, I don't know, 6. I can't quite make it out. But anyway, it's early, and there she is. Here's a few lines from Arizona. So lines meaning, her curves and so on. So having a little fun with that. And all kinds of different things. Cowboys, see the guy at the bottom, almost to the right. Howdy from Arizona. He's shooting the words into the sign. So Native American stuff, very, very cute. But no, watch out for Little Dudette because she'll appear years later, as we'll see. These are some other types of cards. I put this one on. Western Fun is not from him. That's postmarked in 49 from Reno, Nevada. But these weren't, he wasn't the only one doing this. You had many different artists, making money off of these. But this particular one is one of these fun packs. And we'll see some cards from that. But the cards would drop down. Most of you are certainly familiar with this, but for those who aren't postcard collectors might not know. And this one was addressed to Chicago and was actually mailed in 1950 out of Tucson. So once again, we're seeing all these things originating in Arizona. Now he says, I don't care where I'm going, but I like to see where I've been. So he loves showing papoose, a little papoose with his mom, and she, of course, showing that beautiful Native American pottery on her head. And this is 1941, before the war, Southwest Indians travel card. And this was from Bisbee, Arizona. Now look at the year here. Copyright 41 when the card was made. This was used in 1954 with a 6-cent airmail stamp. And what's really neat is Bisbee, Arizona. And for those of you who really know Arizona, you'll know that the gunfight at the OK Corral actually took place in Bisbee, and not in, I guess, where was it supposed to be? Tucson, where they thought, or whatever. But it's kind of a cool card on a lot of levels. So it was really hung around for a while and well used. And this one, I don't believe. I think I copied this somewhere. I don't think I have this one because I would have had a better image. But I thought it was cute with the dogs, and it didn't. I really didn't need it. It had no political value to it. But it says this trip to the Southwest has been hard for poor Fido. So poor Fido's trying to find some kind of bush to pee on, and he doesn't want to get close to a cactus. And this one's petrified, and so on. It's really cute. And he's out in the desert going, "Oh my God, there's nothing here." So this it was just kind of a fun card. Don't know if it was ever really mailed. Somebody may have taken it with them, and maybe that's why I didn't purchase it. This one's cute. Here's Howdy, the famous laughing cactus. And look how it swats the guy on his tuchus there and his butt. It says this desert air is so penetrating it pierces to the depth of your being. And having lived and run in the desert in Arizona when I lived in Phoenix for a number of years, God, let me tell you, I had a beautiful saguaro cactus in the front yard that I had to get a permit for somebody to uproot it and put it in our home. Anyway, isn't it interesting to see the figure gradually emerge? This is really funny. So the woman on the doing the knitting. I just forgot what you call that. Uh, um, she's making the image. You see the Native American artwork on there, but a piece of the woman's dress, the redhead, is getting caught up in it. So it's a funny joke, right? Isn't it? He's looking at the wrong image. The
The
guy on the
lady
left.
is weaving, weaving,
Yeah, weaving. But what do they call the machine?
knitting.
What do you call the machine? That's what I was trying to think
It's
of.
a loom.
A loom. Thank you. I could not think of it. So it's really funny. It says Indian rug weaver, and it's a cute card. It's obviously post-war, near the end of the war, copyright of 45. But I love it. His humor was fantastic. And here's another one, similar kind of thing. Does it bother you to have somebody watch while you paint? And he's painting, and of course, a cactus on his board there, but she's painting her lips, obviously. So it's just a cute. He was a funny guy. This is a really nice item in the collection. Now, again, it's not a postcard, but being a stamp collector as well, this cover here is what you call the envelope, sent to Forestburg, Texas. It's his stationery, both the from 1955, mailed in Phoenix. On his, not only is the envelope his stationery, but the letterhead as well, dated 24 April, corresponds good to the 25th on the postmark. And here's a little picture of him that he signed and put his little cactus on there, in with the letter. So you can see what a nice person he was, that somebody requested his photo, and look at how beautifully he did it. So that was nice. And I do have one other thing. I don't have the correspondence that was with this, but this is from 1959, postmarked in Phoenix, Arizona, in his own stationery. And at some point, something was stapled to it, but it wasn't there when I purchased this. Now, look who's back. And this is Little Dudette in 1958. So years later, Little Dudette is at the Arizona Beef Council, has a booth or something being represented at this beef, whatever, BPW, the beef producer or something or other, Seattle conference in 1958. Very, very rare pin, and it's even got the little, compliments, but right above that, you see Reg Manning's signature. It's a big button pin, that you would put on your shirt or lapel or something. And then she shows up again, and this is earlier. I guess I should have put this one first, in 1954 at the Arizona State Fair. And this is some sort of program I have in the collection. I blew it up so you could see his signature clearly on the left. but presents Miss Arizona pageant. So although Little Dudette's not Miss Arizona, she certainly could be. Land. Swallow is the name of a cactus, and you can see this is a Reg Manning illustration on the cover of the Land Bulletin from the Desert Botanical Society from 1974. And it's a beautiful piece. It's pretty rare, and I'm lucky to have that in here. You don't see a lot of those. And as we wind down here, this is Reg Manning, later in his career, and you can see as an older man in the top right image there, he became an etcher of glass. And look at the work. I don't have one of these. I wish I could find one of these for sale, probably worth a lot of money. But this is the kind of work that he would do. If you're familiar with cartoons and crazy inventions by a guy named Rube Goldberg, who also is a political cartoonist that we have a large collection on, he became later in life as a unbelievable sculptor. And we have two of the small ones here at the house. But again, these guys come out with these completely different careers, and their artwork is impeccable. I mean, look at the one on the bottom right. There's the guy that you would see on the tablecloths and the maps, the miner with the burro, with a beautiful, what is it, a 3 or 4 armed swirl cactus in the background, the desert quails and the chaparrals or roadrunners on the left, and the fox. It's just magnificent work by a genius artist with a great sense of humor and a very big heart. These I was able to pick up a pack of these. These were not postcards, but more like greeting cards. They were blank, and they're just cards of his artwork. And you can see this particular one. I forgot the name of that cactus there, but those are chaparrals, or what we call them officially in Texas anyway, chaparrals. What most people know as roadrunners. And you can see his all signed by him. And the pack came with this card, and you see the card in, so you can read both sides. It's like a fold over card. Reg Manning's Desert Bird Note Cards, and it says 8 note cards with 8 envelopes, and delightful desert color sketches by Pulitzer Prize winning cartoonist Reg Manning. So we know that you can easily date these post 1951 from when he did his when he was awarded the Pulitzer Prize, but most likely based on the zip code there, it's got to be. I think zip codes came out 63 or 64, so it's someplace in the mid 60s is when we could date these cards. This is the Family Circus magazine, and this one is from February of 1940. So this one's kind of the war's going on in Europe, but we're not terribly involved yet. And there's Reg Manning, and that's a similar image that we saw in one of the other magazines early in the presentation. So he was showing up in many, many, many different places early on. This is the inside here. You can see some of his Reg Manning's type of cartoons on the bottom right there. Also in these things, you see the Reg Manning political cartoon there, Hitler in the fishbowl. So a lot of these things were really, really important early home front propaganda, if you will, what was going on in America. And this book, this is really interesting. If somebody hadn't mentioned this, that this book was illustrated by Reg Manning, nobody would ever know unless you had the book. It's Wonders of the West by Orrin Arnold, not a commonly known book. It's a beautiful little illustration on the front. But look at inside here. There is somebody, a little map of this mountain where somebody's climbing up the side of a I don't know if it's a mountain or what that is exactly. But anyway, there you see his name, Reg Manning, right down there. So he was even doing book illustrations. for what I consider a, not a really popular book. I mean, I would have never heard of that even. And I'm sorry, what he's climbing up is into the Indian homes in the built into the walls. It's I've actually been to some of those. They're beautiful. And this is from 1967. He's still hot and heavy. There's the governor, and he says, "Just a minute, I want to make one more appointment." And, this is 1967, and there you have old 66 going out the door. Another political cartoon. So he's just moving and shaking. Here's a neat little one. I'm sure he did this pro bono. This is What's the Answer? Booklet about child accidents, how to prevent accidents. And you see his signature on the bottom left there. Here's the Cartoonist magazine, a little newsletter, I guess. And here you see what I think is kind of a who. I don't think it's really that, but you see one of his cartoons in this, and it's the National Cartoonist Society. And one of the things that's interesting with all these deals, if you see their little logo, the NIS with the ink bottle and the quill pens on the top, that's not a great representation of it, but that was designed by Rube Goldberg that I had mentioned a few minutes ago. The other interesting thing is Bill Keane. Now, remember, we saw that Family Circus magazine a few slides ago that showed Reg Manning on the cover. Bill Keane is the guy that had the Family Circus cartoon that ran for God knows how many years. And he only did a couple of, that I know of, a couple of political cartoons, and I have those in the collection. But Bill Keane is also mentioned here. There were so many of these guys trying to do good for America. Really amazing. So winding down, this is an actual program from a luncheon for his 75th birthday. And you can see here Reg Manning is the Dean of American Editorial Cartoonists, having been employed and blah, blah, blah. And it's just great stuff to have. It's 1980, a number of years before his death at the Camelback Inn in Phoenix. And I didn't live too awful far from there for those of you from Arizona. I lived in Ahwatukee and in cooperation with the Arizona Republic, just another nice piece. And this one, again, he was very interested in nature and conservancy and so on. And it's not a bookmark, but it is a kind of a little bit bigger than a bookmark size um, not a pamphlet, just a information piece that would have been at the national parks. And it's about, don't take things from the park, right? I mean, you could walk off with the whole petrified forest if everybody took little pieces of it. So he was very concerned about, nature and conservancy. So he was very happy to do these kinds of pieces. I thought this card, I've seen two of these. I bought one. It says to Vaughn from whoever that is. But this is the card folded on the left. And it says, out of the West, there's Santa Claus, loads of love and best wishes for a happy Yuletide. And then when you open it up, what it is the burro carrying Santa Claus, the big load that he had. And of course, with all the cactus. It's a really cute, adorable item. I don't know how many of those were produced or where. And then this one, this was on the front cover, but I love this card. This was mailed um, from Mecca. What is that? Mecca, California, I think. I don't think it's Arizona. I forgot. New Hampshire, Mecca, New Hampshire. And pardon me, I'm getting myself confused here. It's mailed from Mecca to New Hampshire, and I'm not sure if that's California. I think it might be. Sorry, I can't make it out right now. But anyway, look at that postcard. It's incredible. Every postcard waiting to get her. And then you see the image, like a human image on the far right of that cactus, get the jumping cactus ready to go right onto her butt. It's really funny. It's one of his famous and favorite themes, and making great fun. So I imagine that postcard probably sold by the ton, 1941 copyright. And again, he just loved horsing around. It's kind of like a little dudette woman, but this one is called The Puncher and Judy. So Mary had a little lamb, but that's all she did have. Judy, she ain't got no lamb, but she's got two nice calves. So back and the little cactus down next to his signature goes, and how? And so you get it, just a little bit of fun humor and from 1941, and the guy with the chaps and so on. Cute. This one I like, and there's I guess that's supposed to be Boot Hill, and there's the Undertaker with or without boots. So making a joke about Boot Hill, you don't have to have boots on. Two shots and drive to the hole on Boot Hill, and great Arizona joke, and kind of you see all the crosses and somebody digging the grave up on the top center of the card there. This one is American 1948, post-World War II. People are all back from the war. Economy's kind of booming. Roads are opening. Later on, President Eisenhower is following the Autobahn in Germany and creating our interstate road system back. And this is just kind of what was going on in America as things are starting to pick up and people are moving on from years of slaughter, if you will. Another cute one, just fun. Most everywhere we go in the West, we see the prickly pear cactus. We have one in our front yard here. The prickly pear is like a government agency. And this is really good political stuff. The longer it lives, the more branches it sprouts. And even when it looks smooth, it can stick you. Yeah, and it's almost impossible to kill it. When a branch is broken off, it usually takes root and grows a whole new plant. Think about what's going on in politics today. Here's a card from 1948 that sums it up. Really great stuff. Here's one again with the Native Americans. The paleface used to sell beads to the poor Indians, but today there's the Native American selling junk jewelry to the very interested tourists. So kind of a role reversal, if you will. And this is one of my favorite. So here you go. Here comes Paleface. We ambush them and scalp them. And you see these two Native American guys in their house listening to a radio show. And this guy pulls up and he thinks that's what they're talking about, him. So it's pretty cute little card. It just lots of fun stuff. And this one, again, I don't know what it is with him with butts and so on, but this one is, it says, look at that odd shape with the peculiar bulges. And they're looking at, the really unusual desert landscape, right? And look at that old stone face. I'll bet she's 1 million years old. And she goes, Humphrey, are you going to stand there and let them say things like that about me? and, and look at, even though it's not marked, look at the image of Reg Manning himself. That's you know who. So great card, great fun. And again, this one here, they call me a jackass, another burro, and he's making it laugh. And look who's going to get kicked in the head by the burro in just a moment. So great comic stuff, all these travel cards. And these were being produced during the war too. So he tried to keep a humor, as we all need to do in times of duress. And he did probably one of the best jobs of it. This is something I mentioned earlier. These are two different issues of his book, From Tea to Cup. And I really like I like the illustration because he has more illustrations of the little golfers on the ones in red on the right-hand side. But what's really fascinating about this, there's the back, and it says it's cartoon books produced in Phoenix, actually. I like the cartoon of the hips, the bones moving. But what's most interesting about this is in these both volumes, the holes are actually drilled. The golf holes are drilled into the pages. So that's not something I did. I tried to take the picture so it looked a little 3D and you can see what's inside there. So that's what, if you wanted the truth, I invented it. So that's your groundhog that, is eating up the golf courses all the time. And that's it for today. So if anybody has questions, I'm available now for that. And I'm going to stop sharing my screen and look at all you nice people again. So I hope you enjoyed that.
Thank you, Greg. That was great fun and so informative and so many goodies that you've shared with us today. We're going to ask Bill Burton today to field the questions.
Okay, thanks, Hal. A general question about the postcard section of this. Am I right in believing that these were mostly printed by Kurt Teich? Do you have any idea?
No, I don't. I generally don't get into the on certain artwork that I have, but on postcards I usually don't. I guess we could look, but I really haven't looked at who does the printing for these.
We might ask
If,
Dennis McBurney. He's
Yeah,
here.
Dennis would know.
yeah, they were all printed by Kurtyke. The one with the Phoenix shooting the holes out, that one isn't signed by Kurtyke, but it's got all of the characteristics of being printed by them as uh, just basically they did a lot of custom work.
Isn't it wonderful to have these people you can go to? Thank you.
Betty Drake says, "Do you know what? Did you know that that Arizona had a corps of similarly clad
Oh,
howdy dudettes to
yeah,
welcome people to the state?"
yeah, they did. And they had little skirts and white cowboy hats. And they were started in Scottsdale. And yeah, they were there to sort of a welcome wagon sort of thing, very chipper and cheery. And they looked just like that, the one in the cartoons.
Huh.
What fun.
They were different though, not his little dudette. Is that what you're saying?
Oh,
Or they
oh
were his?
no, yeah, they were different,
Oh,
but
oh, okay. Because otherwise I'd have to.
I don't know that there's any connection, put it that
Okay.
way. And the costumes were very similar.
But they were real people.
Oh yeah, chipper little cheerleader types.
Oh,
Oh,
really?
Yeah.
Just standing at the entrance to the of roads coming into Arizona and
Well,
waving.
not at the roads, but at events or
Oh, I see.
conferences
Okay.
or at the rodeo parade and things like that. And
Oh, okay.
greeting visitors was the idea.
All right. Ray Hahn says, please share your insights concerning the red border travel cards.
yeah,
Both
we'll have to rely
Vertex.
on Dennis for any of the border stuff. Dennis sent me information. I had no idea. I hadn't even looked at them that closely that there were red and white borders on the various cards. Dennis, would you mind? I hate bugging you, but you seem to know that pretty well.
Yeah, what we went through and I did some research on it was so many of the cards were done in both red border and white border. And there
Mhm.
are three cards that were issued in the booklets with white borders, but I've never found white border postcards of them. If you go and download the checklist, you can see my notes on that. Greg, the one I sent to you were two different checklists. I've combined that, so there's just one to download now. And if anybody finds any white border postcards that I've noticed as or noted as not found, I'd like to find out from you, and we'll update the checklist.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
amazing. Amazing work on that, Dennis. Amazing.
mhm.
Thank you.
And then Dennis says again, fantastic presentation. I only knew about his postcards and his books. The magazines are fantastic. Do you uh, do you have how deep a collection do you have of the magazines and other ephemera?
Quite a bit. I don't know. It's yeah, there's I think my binders, like really big on that stuff, and some of the stuff doesn't fit in the binder. Like I have in a plastic case. I have the belt buckle over here, and there's different, like things that don't fit in a binder, but it's an awful lot of stuff. I mean, you can only show so much in the presentation, right? So,
That's exciting.
You had a whole hour of doing this. You could have crammed an awful lot in there.
you know,
You had a lot more that you didn't?
yes, and I didn't have a lot of time. It takes a long time to build these PowerPoints, right? And uh, so yeah, so because there's a lot of stuff here. I try to scan what I can, and then I always scan what I need for a specific presentation. But it's and then when, like, my friend Spike wants me to do one on the 1939 World's Fair, and he wants me to do stuff on Westinghouse, I have to go find my Westinghouse stuff or buy some Westinghouse stuff and incorporate it in there for him. So that's it's a never-ending process collecting, as you all know. I'm not there is nothing new for anybody here.
Okay, Rayhan jumped in and said, talked about Owen Arnold, and he said Arnold is the artist of the Postcard Storiette series. What is that, Ray?
It's a set of 18 cards that were published, I think, in the 1930s. Let me show you.
Oh, yeah. And they were Reg Manning too?
No.
No, definitely not.
These were the Owen Arnold that was mentioned along with Manning and some others production.
Oh, maybe that was the man who did the book.
Yes.
And with Manning illustrations in it. Yeah. Yeah. Great.
Okay, Andrew Cunningham backed this all up by saying that he was one of the people who did the postcard statuettes.
Yeah, I thought the same thing. I was wondering whether that was the guy. I have one like these red ones. They're really brightly colored. Beautiful cards. I bought a bunch some years ago.
Yeah.
They
That
they
looks
had
like
these
what
little
Ray was showing. Yes.
yeah, they had these
Yeah.
little short stories on them.
There's 18 cards in that set.
Yeah, I've got 5 or 6, I guess.
Betty Drake, you're back again. Wonderful presentation. I've got some additional table covers, jewelry and goodies. It's a longtime favorite of mine. Kudos.
Go,
So,
go.
yeah, I've got some additional ones. I mean, you've given me a lot of ideas, Greg.
Oh, that's great. Betty, you have Reg Manning tablecloths that
Mhm.
weren't shown. What are the topics?
I'm gonna have to go look. I mean, I
Okay.
think they're mostly different colors.
No, but the same patterns. Somebody
Yeah,
said something about jewelry.
yeah, I think I've got some cufflinks and like a pendant or something. I mean, I'll have to dig it all out
Oh, but
because
it's not a tablecloth.
oh no. I mean,
Oh,
we've got some jewelry and
ah,
some additional tablecloth.
got it. Yeah. Yeah. Send me if you have images of it. That stuff's fun. I'd like to see it.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, maybe.
I'd like to, now you make me want to dig all the stuff out now.
No, I know I do that all the time. I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. I'd like to and double check all the books I've got as well. So,
Okay.
It's fun to see about.
mhm.
Alan Manning has issued a general attaboy for a stunning presentation, as he puts it. And Spike Radway has an open point. He says, "I have a question." What's that, Spike?
I just wanted to, I did Route 66 in the last couple of years and segments. And did he do any Route 66 stuff, or are his postcards going to become more valuable now that, the 100-year anniversary is happening? There's going to be
Uh,
more travelers on Route 66.
I haven't seen I haven't seen any Manning Route 66 stuff. Now, Michelle and I, my wife and I, you can see her beautiful face there in the red sweater. We both have Route 66 shirts. So when you're here, if it fits you, I'll give it to you.
Okay.
Ray
Ray, it
has
looks like you
Ray
just
has a
raised your
question,
hand.
I think.
Just like to mention that if you like collecting Reg Manning cards, the Owen Arnold cards are very similar and they have bright colors. And also, there's an artist by the name of Lon McGargy that you would enjoy.
Well, I see my wife shaking her head. She wants you to mute yourself immediately. Doesn't want me collecting any more stuff. But thank you, Ray. Duly
My apologies to your wife,
noted.
and I will
Yeah.
myself.
Duly noted. Hey, Ray, on a serious note, though, are they, I collect Manning because of his World War II, political stuff, his propaganda stuff. The cowboy stuff and the Arizona stuff is all good, but it's really not my focus. Did the other guys that you mentioned, are they doing political, um, World War II political stuff as well, out of curiosity? Because I don't know either of them.
The Arnold collection are mostly folklore things.
But yeah,
And the Lon McGargy, his collection is mostly cowboy
yeah.
themes. There's one very popular card of a cowboy in a bathtub that apparently at one time or another drew some rather nasty criticisms.
Oh,
He did also a lot of advertising art. He did the
Yes,
Stetson logo of the cowboy offering his horse a drink from his Stetson hat.
yes,
oh,
yes.
And he did quite a bit of landscape
well,
paintings as well. I have a big saguaro painting that he did that
oh,
is a favorite oil painting.
wow.
Well, it's definitely Southwest themes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, great. Thank you. The other guy that did Southwest that I collected, well, if you're able in September, when I do another presentation, who did, I just happened to have these because I haven't had them long. I wasn't sure what to do. Hal Empey, he did all
Yeah.
these World War II propaganda stuff and everything. He was a pharmacist, owned a pharmacy, and these were actually sold by him. I have the somewhere, I guess it's in a binder. I have the receipt, but I have two of these framed. They're not postcards, they're prints.
Mhm.
Some of his Western landscape. And I mean, this is, let me get this one. I mean, they're beautiful.
Yeah,
Yeah, and
right.
his daughter still runs a shop down in Tubac.
She's
Where
got the
you,
cards in that book, everything being reproduced and everything. Exactly. Yeah. But these were sold in 1983. I have the receipt.
Mhm.
And they're really cheaply framed, but anyway, they're in there how they were sold. But nonetheless, it kind of, that Western theme, but I don't collect. I have those only because I collect Hal Empey, and they don't fit the real reason I collect him.
Well, Burton and I have been doing this postcard history thing now since May of 2019.
Mm.
But somewhere in from that period to today, there was a considerable controversy about the settlement of the Empey estate. I don't know whether or not Betty could shed any light on that, but that was that was probably the biggest postcard controversy that I know of ever.
Oh, I never heard of that. Betty probably owns it.
No, no. I'd like to find more about that. Out
Yeah.
more about that. That
I,
would be
I
great.
suppose maybe Arizona newspapers may have something. I don't know.
I'm sure. I'm sure it'd be interesting to find out though.
Yeah.
Does anybody collect? Does anybody remember hearing this? Being Jewish myself, and focusing on so many collections here that are Jewish related. Um, Alfred Dreyfus, back in like 1890s, when he was falsely accused of being a traitor in the French army and sent off to prison and so on. I've got a really cool collection of postcards from that period, French postcards and stuff. That might be something fun to do one time. I never thought about that till
Dreyfus Affair. Right,
yeah, the Dreyfus affair. Yeah.
right.
Well, if you have the time and the inclination to do so, I'll promise you space in postcard history.
Oh,
There you go.
Just a general one. I noticed the tablecloth and it seemed to be Morse code around it. I am a ham operator. I don't pretend to know Morse code, but I did pull out my quick reference here and I did a quick screenshot of it, and I can't make out any message on it. Just
yeah. Oh, good one. One of my favorite things about that is remember the movie, some of you might remember it from the 60s, The Longest Day. It had cameos by everybody in there. And it's throughout the movie they're going dun 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 dot 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 dash, and it's about the V for victory, and it's that one scene where I don't know if it was a B-17 or whatever was going overhead, and it was flashing its light, dot, 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 dash. And they actually referenced that, the two guys that were on one of the troop transports were actually he says, well, what are they doing? And he says, oh, they're flashing victory. And
yep.
yeah, so I don't know either, but it's an interesting,
In movies, often there is code. Usually it's garbage, but sometimes it is real.
Yeah. Yeah, good one on that one. Yeah, good stuff.
So I couldn't pick out any message. I could pick out letters, but I couldn't pick out a message.
I've got an original in its original box. It's that Bakelite material, but I've got a Boy Scout original from that period Morse code device.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Cool.
In the cabinet behind me, I got a bunch of the keys and all that.
Oh, neat.
Well, we thank everybody for coming today. It's been exceptional, and we're off to a good start for 2026.